So what a lot of leaders were grappling with is those tough decisions around how do I maintain my staff given the reality of knowing that if they lose this job, it's not just one person losing a job. That's at the extreme end, the real tough one. But there's also the issue that we're grappling with around how you support your employees emotionally. We found that the angst, the anxiety, the stress, the depression, and the best leaders recognize that leadership is an emotional process.
Emotional intelligence.
That is it. And I need to be able, I myself, I'm dealing with the stress of how am I going to keep this business open.
Exactly.
And yet I need to sit with you who might have a patient who is very ill, who might be worried about, will I keep this job or not? So it's both how I manage my own emotions, but also show empathy to my staff. So that's another thing we actually saw leaders grappling with. And then at the same time, they had to start thinking about beyond COVID. The best leaders we found were coming to support and saying, you know, this is happening now. And I think this is a key thing that's coming up even as I listen to both of you speak. The key word was opportunity. Many were seeing that indeed COVID brought out opportunities. So it wasn't just about coping with what was happening now, but how do I pivot? I think that's the word you use. How do I pivot, adjust, so that my business, my organization can take advantage of opportunities that were arising in the market? So it was really a juggling of two things, coping with what is, but also getting ready for what's coming next.
I love that.
And maybe the last thing I'll say is that it's not over.
True, right?
Many of the clients we're working with, the leaders they're working with, are beginning to recognize, you know, you keep hearing, I often use the word the VUCA world that we live in. It's the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. That COVID was a signal of what's to come. Where there's constant change, constant shocks. So they were starting to ask the question, what does it mean to constantly lead in times of uncertainty? Because now what they're dealing with, the clients we're working with, what they're dealing with is the high cost of inflation, the rise in prices, what that means in terms of whether their customers and clients can afford their services anymore, can afford their products anymore. So the anxiety has built up again. And it's saying two things. So how do I lead in times of uncertainty? But number two, they're also asking, how can I make my organization or business resilient? Because again, it's not just a COVID thing, but it's saying, how do I make my organization ready for whatever shocks are going to keep coming? Because right now, we're also dealing with it.
We're also dealing with it a lot. Richard, now